All right.
Okay, so we'll call the public hearing to order. And it's a single item, consideration of the development agreement to facilitate construction of 313 square foot four bedroom small options home and to identify future development sites at 725 Highway 14 Windsor Road.
That was a mouthful.
Oh, feet or not feet. Oh, well, I didn't notice that because I'm still in the feet part. Inches. That's my measurement tape still runs out there. Anyway, comments by the solicitor. I assume this is copies before
I
us.
believe it is ordinance one.
Thank you. Overview by the planner.
Okay,
Emily.
that's me.
Yeah.
So you gave a great run through of what the development agreement application is for. So again, we've got the request on behalf of Bonny Lea Farm to facilitate the 4-bedroom small options home and the 2 future identified sites. So the mixed use zone, which is where the property is located in, allows for institutional uses with a gross floor area of 2,000 meters squared or more on a single lot by development agreement. So the site, like I have previously said, has 11 existing structures on the site right now. So with the proposed addition and the 2 identified sites, the total gross floor area will exceed that 2,000 meters squared. So that's why we're in the development agreement process. Staff conducted a policy analysis in the municipal planning strategy and deemed all policies satisfied. I will go through the public hearing report here, clerk report. So we've got all the meeting dates there. So on December 8th, staff brought the request to council and direction to begin the staff report and draft development agreement. On January 10th, we held a public information meeting on site at Bonny Lea Farm. That was pretty successful. I think we had around 10 or 11 people in the audience. On February 15th, we went to the Municipal Planning Advisory Committee with a staff report and related draft development agreement. They provided recommendation for council. We brought that on March 2nd to council to consider that for first reading. We are now here on April 6th for the public hearing. Under that is just a list of all of the staff reports related to all the meetings that we had. We followed the public participation program and the Municipal Government Act requirements for advertisements. So on the 4th of January, we did the notice of public information meeting for 1 week in the paper. We did a week in February for the Municipal Planning Advisory Committee. And then we did the consecutive 2-week ad for the public hearing. On top of that, we had sent out notice of the public hearing to the neighboring municipalities as well as the neighboring property owners within 30 meters. And then this time we're supposed to on the entrance, and we also do on our municipal doors and social media and our website. And we have received no written submissions from the public for this. So that's my overview. Yeah.
Anyone, any questions? Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Presentation by the developer, I assume that's not.
We got them here and they have a video to show.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Well, I think the video will speak for itself, but if you have any questions afterwards, we're here.
Okay.
It speaks to the importance of the project.
Bonny Lea Farm is a home and a workplace for people with varying abilities.
It's a complete village. It just works like a family. I guess you could say there's love in every corner.
I think most of them share that feeling of camaraderie and acceptance and community that Bonny Lea affords. There's a place to live and where they learn and practice life skills.
It's very individualized. Everybody does whatever part they can and whatever they're involved in.
We offer recreational therapy, speech and language supports, counseling, and community engagement through our Broaden Options program.
The people in the wider community benefit from knowing the reasons.
It's amazing how many people work here for a long time. And the reason for that is they get to know the participants. You're part of the Bonny Lea family.
When I come here, I feel like a superstar.
Very good introduction to the Bonny Lea. There's some people who have lived here for a long time. This is their home. I was given up birth from adoption, was never adopted, visited at foster care, and I came here at the age of 16, and have been living here ever since. Like, this has been my home for 40 years. People who live here are my family. I love living here.
Bonny Lea Farm has participants ranging from early 20s to in the 70s. And with that comes changing physical abilities and changing physical needs.
The stability, knowing that you're safe and knowing that you belong and knowing that you have friends, is just really essential.
You get this TLC, you're here every day, you love it, it's your family, and then all of a sudden you have to leave, which is heartbreaking.
And when you see a van driving away with the participants, tear in their eye, it hurts deeply when you know that something different could have happened for them.
Bonny Lea Farm needs a home that can support our participants' needs as they change. The new home is designed as one floor living to enable participants to live as independently as possible for as long as possible here at Bonny Lea Farm.
So this home is intended to be built on site, front of Birch House.
Mainly with people that are capable and with one of the physical chat, which is older.
Medical office for our on-site healthcare consultant who's a nurse.
And this will service the whole province, and we have people here from everywhere.
It's very emotional when you see people leave and move on when they really haven't wanted to.
The money that we get from various sources covers the programs as they are. So bringing in a new program, you need to find some new money for that.
This is where I'd like to continue living my life, till the end.
They have every right to live their lives the way they wish. And if they wish to stay here at home at Bonny Lea Farm, they should have that choice. And we need this home in order to enable them to have that choice. Thank you.
So that's our video, and I also wanted to thank council for the support that has already been provided by the municipality towards the project. And just to point out that we have Karen Lake, our executive director, we have Barbie Nunn Porter, who's a board member, and we have Sid DeMerick, who's our architect here as well.
Like I said, I saw Floyd was in those pictures a couple times.
Sure was.
Yeah, is he okay with this project?
Floyd fully endorses this project and will tell you that his bags will be packed.
Okay, I just need to know that. 'Cause if he doesn't like it, then I'm not voting for it.
Floyd fully endorses the new big house. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone any questions? It's a great project. Your recommendation is that we approve it, I assume.
You're right. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay, so staff's recommendation is that municipal councilor enter into a development agreement with Bonny Lea Farm to facilitate the development of a 313 square meter structure and to identify future development sites.
Somebody prepared to move that?
I will.
Seconder? Seconded. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much for all your hard work. Make sure it gets built right, that's it. I don't hear nothing for the building inspector.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna move along. Oh, Derek? I'll wait till you get it fixed. Go Skip, yeah. Oh, I didn't see him in the picture. So.
And Jan Elliott was in there for 40 years.
Sorry, guys.
Okay. You ready to roll?
Lloyd is not here to help me.
No. Oh, it's a motion to adjourn, yes, I forgot.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor, opposed, motion carried. Okay, I'll call the committee of the whole to order. The first item is approval of agenda and order of business. I only have one additional item, and that's the grants for community facilities.
Just grants discussion.
Well, grants in general. Does anybody else have any additions or anything they want to take it out?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Seconder? Second. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Public input. I'm not aware of any. Okay. Minutes of the previous meeting, committee of the whole, March 16th. Your omissions.
I have a question.
Yes.
I think there might be an omission. If I'm reading it properly. On page 93.
Yeah.
And you start at the bottom of page 92. I'm just trying to determine what the motion was. Okay, that's just moving the camera.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
I was trying to see what the motion was.
Yeah.
Motion.
We didn't make one.
Okay. I see it now. I didn't see it last night when I was reading.
okay.
Sorry,
No, that's
it's good.
so.
new Cadillac working up one.
So somebody prepared to move, we approve the minutes of March 16th,
So
committee of the whole.
move.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. March 16th, committee of the whole budget. There was our omissions. Somebody prepared to move, we approve.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
Hey, let's see, at least I'll go with that. Discussion. All those in favor? Oh, scared. Okay. Public presentations, we're ready? No? 6.1, request for decision, community development, recreation, public moorings. Request from Ohio Island Conservation Association.
So this is a follow-up report to
Yeah, I
the.
know why you're still there.
Okay, go ahead.
So as I was saying this morning, I said, I asked him if he was gonna stick around for the morning conversation, and so anyways, Sid wasn't aware that it was on the agenda this morning, but good coincidence that he happens to be here. So if there are any follow-up questions to the report related to Micah involvement, we do have a representative here this morning. That's great. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he doesn't want it.
So back in September, the presentation from Micah was related to the public moorings project that they have initiated, and so the report, I won't go through all of that, but it gives some background that the municipality of the district of Lindbergh has already started the project and have been willing to enter into that partnership with Micah. And have actually, they actually installed 6 moorings in the fall. And they have another 18 that are planned for installation for this coming year. And the report goes over just, I won't get into the details because you've already heard that from the Micah representatives, but just the rationale behind why the public moorings are a good idea and some of the challenges that have been facing with some of the private moorings around some of the islands. So essentially, this report is intended just to bring back a little bit more information as requested, and to allow council to make hopefully make a decision whether or not you're interested in pursuing this project or not. So a few of those details that you've been looking for, were one was some of the costing. And so we do have that in the budget section. So we're looking at an approximate cost of about $1,700 each for purchase and installation of the moorings. And then there are some annual costs as well. So about $100 per mooring. And so we're looking at 6 moorings. And again, this was done in consultation with our friends at MICA. And so the suggestion was for those 6 moorings to be installed in the waters near Chester. And just looking for the section I had, islands that they had suggested. So 2 at Birch, 2 at Squid, and 2 at Clay. That was a suggestion. And so any of the details on the moorings were in there. And again, the details were also presented in the original presentation in September. They're just looking for, I guess, open up to discussion. If council has any questions on the project or anything that's covered in the report.
Well, cost us $2,000 per min, and then $600, $700 a year maintain.
For some annual maintenance, yeah. And so there would be every couple of years, there'd be some inspection just to ensure that the lines and the chain and everything are stay in good condition.
Anyone questions? I
Those islands are used like a desk.
You know,
And like,
I would think that after we put these in, they'll be used a lot, and they'll be probably an ask for some more, which is probably good, which is a good thing, man. Absolutely.
Well, that's what we want them for.
Absolutely. It's no good to have them, you can't use them, right? No, no.
Somebody prepared to move,
Some.
Do we know?
second discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, motion carried. You're in a pretty good day so far.
Oh, my God.
You want to put the next couple things on the agenda?
I wish I could, but I'm not. Your record is intact. You're the best council. Thank you so much.
Good morning, council. Good morning. So this is for your information only. I'm here to quickly update you on South Shore Tourism Cooperative's reevaluated formula dictating contributions from the governmental partners. Their previous ask in the amount of $4,221.66 was approved by council in November, subject to confirmation of the funding formula's correct application. Staff contacted SSTC to confirm shortly thereafter, prompting them to reevaluate the previous formula. So for us, this new formula now consists of a $1,000 base rate, as our population is over 5,000, plus 20% of the population converted into dollars. This results in a new ask of $3,138.60, a reduction of approximately $1,100. Additionally, this annual ask will remain the same until the next census data becomes available. Contributions are capped at 5,000, and if a unit chooses not to contribute, other units will not be asked to cover their portion. I've confirmed the calculations for all units, and they are outlined on the second page of the information report. If council has any questions, I'd be happy to field them. Otherwise, we will proceed with the membership.
Do you have any questions? No issues? Keep it up. Motion. Would we already approve?
I approved it already, I think, so it was just
It was just subject to
We were
confirmation.
just asking questions.
Yeah,
So we'll just make the adjustments.
that's it. Thank you.
Okay, well done.
Thank you.
it's nice to see that everybody's participating.
Yeah, that's the good part. Okay, Chad, you might as well come up, because I imagine we'll be talking with this grant consideration. I don't see anything back.
It was just discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess this is a follow-up to the previous conversations that we've had on a few different occasions on both of these 2 items. So initially, the Heritage Society request for major capital grant in the amount of $77,666. And we had the original presentation, and council had some follow-up questions, and we proposed those to the Heritage Society, and Carol came in and made a second presentation and answered questions. And so I guess we're just looking for a final decision on whether or not council would like to support that funding request or not.
She did a good presentation. I want to support her and the project. This question.
So I think that was part of the clarification, was so in the initial budget that was presented, the 77,666 was the total cost of the project.
Yeah,
And so we know that our funding formula for that particular grant is we cover up to 70% of the total cost of the project. So if you look at that, and if you look at some of the sources of revenue they have listed there, there's a few other grants, obviously, that they're going to try to secure. But if you look at 70% of that total project budget, that amount would be 54,366, and that would the remaining 30% or 23,300 is what the Heritage Society would have to come up with from those other sources of funding.
and if we did approve, let's say $50,000, it could be subject to them receiving the additional funds.
Correct. So council has done that in the past, is that the approval is conditional upon certain things, and one thing could be the funding secured from other sources
Well, yeah.
prior to the project proceeding.
Yeah, well, that's the only way it could meet the guidelines, right? Is if they come up with it somewhere.
So it's in the the budget is presented, and there were a few, one of the questions I believe that Councillor Connors had brought up was a couple of the applications they had noted for 24-25. So that's a little bit into the future. I guess it would be some of those other funding sources and whether they're able to do things like fundraising or those types of things. So that could be the conditional part, is that they secure that additional 30%.
I don't know. With somebody else. Well, I mean, I know that, or there's a slight difference of opinion or whatever.
I can speak on it if you don't mind. Because I thought about this long and hard, and I guess, I mean, we all know the work that Carol does. It's just unbelievable, right? So I started to think about if we grant this request, I personally, I don't want to end up in a situation like the Gold River School, and our business park issue that we had. But and looking at it like that, I guess to me, to approve the grant, for me personally, would mean that, you cannot put a caveat to say, this is the only amount that will be contributing to this project. I'm not prepared to do it year after year. So then looking at it that way, I thought, well, then why would I agree to vote on this in a positive way when I feel that I won't next year? And that's not, I mean, they're allowed to apply, obviously. And so that's how I came to my decision. I didn't come to it lightly. And I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but that's the way I came to my decision.
Derek has hand up.
And I support the project. I think that's clear, and I understand the opposition to it, both in ongoing support and the amount. And I think what I understand you properly. Seed money is one thing, but continuing every year is something that you'd be concerned about.
That's right. Yeah.
I understand that. I think it's an opportunity to support our tourism industry. It's another opportunity to support heritage, and I think that's important. I think the presentation Carol gave, especially the last one, was, laid everything out. I know Tina, she's not here, she'll probably speak to it. She's on video, backing up the HST, and I think we all agree that that's a small point. The second question was, there was an amount she had applied for by the certain date, and between that date and last meeting, it increased. Before Tina speaks to that, I think she was looking at that increase not being considered. But Mr. Ward, what you said is where I am. I support it, I know you support it, well, what's the proper amount? I'd like to find that sweet spot where we can support it. Recognizing that people around this table who aren't going to support it at all, so it's be interesting, and unfortunately, Councillor Deputy Wood Shackler is not here to vote on it, so presumably it could be a tie.
Yeah, because I mean, he left last week and, Carol changed his mind, let's put it that way. He wasn't supportive and now he is, but he's not here to
He's
say.
not here.
And I just so that people are aware, I was just informed that they did receive $10,000 towards this project from the Pond Trust. Yeah, on it.
Okay, I got a few points I want to make. I feel like when, okay, not every group that comes to us when asked that qualifies for a grant should obviously receive the grant. We have to just determine if it makes sense. I mean, that to me is a very low bar to set. There's a much higher bar, and that's, is this the right project for us? And would the people, the taxpayers, the residents, would they be happy with the outcome of this project? To me, that's important. Does it make strategic sense for our municipality? That's important. So, I looked at the budget that was presented, and this is phase one of what appears to be a multi-phase project. And most of the funding was coming from the municipality of Chester in the proposed budget. And to me, when you undertake to bring a caboose from New Brunswick and your intent is to have the municipality mostly fund your project, then that's something that you should probably discuss with your funding partner before you undertake that project. I want to say also, like, part of this revolves around some individual that had a training museum of some sort in Lunenburg, and they're going to be able to furnish this museum with these artifacts. But the Heritage Society, to my knowledge, doesn't actually own the artifacts. So we're going to build a museum to show artifacts that do not belong to us or the Heritage Society, and should that person decide in the future that he doesn't want to do it anymore, or he dies and his kids decide they want to give those artifacts somewhere else, we have an empty museum that we built. Artifacts that aren't ours. In their budget, I didn't see actually any, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I didn't actually see any line item that actually had their own fundraiser. Did they?
No.
No. And that usually was a criteria that we put on even community centers and community groups that would come to us. So a 100% funded by others project that nobody was not discussed with anybody before it was undertaken. That kind of bothers me. A few weeks ago or a month ago, we had an application under large projects to put a roof on a community center. They're faced with $100,000 or something like that, and we turned them down because they did not qualify. I have a hard time marching back to that community center and serving tea and coffee and saying, sorry guys, we couldn't give you a roof, but we're going to build a train museum in Chester with that same money. I got a real issue with that. Whether they qualify or not, they're going to say, what the heck are you guys doing? Honestly. And they have every right to do so. Look at the merit of those two projects and ask yourself which benefits the community the most. I know the answer in my heart, what it is. So to me, this is the wrong project. It was poorly planned because the major funding partner it wasn't discussed with them until after the fact. The artifacts that we're showing in this museum don't even belong to the group that is preparing to build the museum. I just don't have any clue. I don't know how we can stand up and defend this, other than I can acknowledge that Carol has done some excellent projects for us in the past. And they have added value to the fabric of our municipality. And I'm not here to dispute that, but that doesn't mean that every project that she comes with is the right project. And I don't think this is one of them, and I will not support it. I'm sorry.
Anyone else wish to speak?
So just for clarification also,
Okay, give clarification to Tina.
yeah. The question of art, who owns the artifacts, I think is an important question. Do we not know the answer to that?
So I assume it's the guy who's putting them there, but I mean, that's not entirely uncommon in museums.
Yeah. And I must say, that's not something I considered, and I appreciate you bringing that up, because I missed that. It's a good point. Doesn't change my mind, but it's a good point.
Tina?
Thank you. So when we look at the money piece and we look at 77,766 times 70%, which gives us 54,366, I guess. My question is around what is the actual real total cost? So I don't have my papers in front of me. I apologize. I probably should have had that in front of me, but I'm sure somebody does there. So my question again is, what are the total project expenses that we may or may not be supporting? What are those in actuality, in fact, backing out of that HST recoverable?
Well, what did we come up with as a final figure? Backing up the HST.
So I didn't do an updated financial exercise to pull that out. So what was submitted in the budget was 77,666.73. So that was a total amount, and all of those items that were listed in there to reach that amount, other than a contingency and administrative project, had HST included in all of those.
Yeah.
So I would assume that if you take that total amount and then pull out, I'm not sure what the portion of HST is that they get back. I'm not sure if Carolyn had mentioned that maybe 50%, 50%. So it would be a 50% of approximately 70,000. So 50% of the HST on that and 50%.
I think it was around 50-some thousand, what you come back with after deducting that, to my memory. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, Tina, anything else?
No, so maybe someone can calculate that for me then. 70% of whatever that new figure is, because that's the new figure for the total project, right? What is that new figure again?
I don't know, but I guess I'm gonna throw this out and people can do what you want with it, because I do support the project, and I think it does hit value in the municipality of Chester. But I think if we gave them $40,000, we would avoid all of those discussions about portions and cheers and all that kind of stuff, and they would still move forward and do it. So. And I think it does hit value to the municipality. As much as most of the things we do.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree to more than that. I think 50,000 would be, 40,000 would be a limit for me. I know I supported her to put in the caboose here, but at the time, we really weren't aware that she had planned this extravagant project. And I'm a little concerned that they're taking on a lot for a volunteer.
It doesn't need to be fixed, or else what was the point of bringing it here?
You know, an organization, volunteer organization like they have to fundraise money, and I think she's putting a lot of extra stuff on her plate. They already have a lot to look after.
To answer your questions, at the time, it was presented to those councillors that were offered a district grant.
Yeah.
That there was a time was of the essence, they were getting a free caboose. And they needed to round up a bit of money quick to move the caboose. That was the reason. But I think there are many organizations that undertake projects and they fundraise, they do those projects on their own. This is on their land or a collection of artifacts that they don't even own. And the project is basically almost 100% government funded or funded by a society that basically is government money. So I'm disappointed at the way that this project is being proposed to be funded and how it's been laid out after the fact.
Well, what are we gonna do, people?
I'll put a motion on the floor.
Well, somebody has to do something, or else I'm gonna just move on to a different agenda.
I move that we support this to the tune of $40,000.
Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Discussion on the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay. Okay, on to the next one.
Okay, the second item is again carry forward from previous discussions, and that is the budgeted grant process. And that we do have a request that a final decision has not been made, and that is around providing a budgeted grant to the Chester Art Center. And so we've this conversation has come up quite a number of times to date, and we've taken some different steps and had different conversations. And we did develop new guidelines for annual budgeted grants, which were presented and approved by council just a few weeks ago. And so, so we have that in place, and so this particular grant came up in discussion as part of the budget process. But we have not made a final decision on whether or not to support the Chester Art Center. So just as a reminder that the $25,000 that was an amount that was originally put in the budget. And so that amount is in there, but we are still looking for a final decision from council on whether or not they wish to proceed or not.
Can I ask for some clarifications just before we move on? In our new grants criteria, what are we doing about the issue of receiving capital and this grant?
Yeah, so what was just what council,
I just don't remember.
yeah, so what council decided at the time was that we were gonna look at operating and capital separately, so that anybody that was receiving a budgeted grant would still be eligible for a capital grant as well.
Okay, we made that decision. I just want clarity on that because I know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So if it's my turn, I'll just say that this has been before council. The Art Center has in many ways demonstrated their value to the community and their outreach. Frankly, there's an exhibit right now by a local artist called Asked and Answered. You can go down and have a look at it. That's a great theme. Asked and answered.
I'm going to support it anyway.
Yeah, so I'll just say, I'd like to move that we approve this and we add this to our budgeted line under grants, and that and we never speak of it again.
So you make that a motion? Did you make a motion to approve it? We have a seconder, discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Oh, motion carried.
You sound like Caesar.
And so with that, it's definitely not on the agenda, but I know that at the time when the initial request came in from the Chester Art Center, the Playhouse did follow up and have been following the conversation.
That's
So-
my biggest concern about all this.
So just looking for a clarification on future requests for budgeted grant is that we did, in the guidelines, we had talked about discussion at budget deliberations. Just so I just look for clarification of when council is prepared to accept other applications for
They
budget.
wouldn't be
grant.
eligible until next year because we haven't approved them in the budget.
Okay, for budget
That's
intake for
why.
next year.
We have,
Okay.
yeah.
Just wanted to make sure it was clear on that.
Yeah, I think that any group can come forward, and if they have a demonstrated ongoing value, that something that would align with our mandate, then we should talk to them.
And they have to be added to the current year's budget, in which we're providing.
And I assume we're gonna have this discussion with some of the line items, considering the daycare centers that we currently support and.
Well, they've been given 1 year notice.
Yeah, I think they're on the way out, yeah.
Yeah. So now would be as good a time as any to continue on with the grant stuff.
Yeah, so the reason why I asked, called you yesterday, Alan, and asked that we put this on the agenda is that we did a lot of discussion this year about trying to restructure our grants criteria so that we could better serve the community. And I feel like we may have inadvertently made a problem for ourselves and for those community groups that actually own and maintain infrastructure. We always had a way of like helping with projects that were, I'm gonna call them maintenance-y in nature. So, you need your parking lot resurfaced, or, the washrooms have to be upgraded or whatever. And we had a way of participating in those projects. And you're gonna have to correct me if I'm wrong here, Chad. I don't feel like we really have that mechanism. I thought that was while we were creating, but in fact, it seems like we've made a problem for ourselves. So I feel like, for example, if District 1 Community Center has to resurface their parking lot, I don't know where to send them to get assistance besides district council grants, which is not what we intended those to be for. So can you help us?
So I think those larger projects, so what it comes down to, in my mind, is the criteria that has been laid out for the major capital projects. So the reason that council has presented to date as to why something like a roof on a community center is because it didn't add anything to the service for that particular facility. So the idea was looking to expand the service, maybe the facility is able to offer additional services or something new and innovative and that type of thing. And so something that is more on the maintenance or routine, like a roof repair, does not currently fit the criteria. And so that's why a roof project currently does not fit. So I guess in order to accommodate that, council would have to revisit the criteria.
Because if you don't have a roof, obviously you're not gonna be able to have enhanced programs. So, yeah.
I just feel like we don't have any bin now to go to, even a small one. Like we used to go up to 10,000 or something for those kind of jobs.
So yeah, that's what I want to get there. Is there another source of grants? Can they use other operating type grants?
So we have, so the operating grant, we have a deadline coming up on April 30th, but the maximum amount that council set for that was 3,000. So if you're looking at a $100,000 roof project, 3,000 really isn't much of a contribution towards that. And the small capital, of course, is for smaller capital projects, so that wouldn't fit. And then the district grant funding, of course, is pretty minimal as well.
Yeah, we're gonna have an unusual casting because I actually agree on right now again.
So, I feel like I don't think this was our intent when we did this, and I'll give you a scenario here. Some years ago,
You're coming up, Tina.
I'm sorry, Tina, but I know this is near and dear to you.
Well, I know it's.
But some years ago, we had a District 1 Community Center. It's a very active and very well-run community center in Vancouver. And they wanted to upgrade their washrooms because the plumbing needed updating. And it was some budget of like $9,000 or something like that. And they are very well managed. They had like something like they did in their financial statement, they had something like $77,000 in the bank. And the comment from council was, well, you got all this money in the bank, what do you need our help from, basically? And we gave them some small portion of their ask. And then some years later, here we are, and they came last year and they're like, well, we have a roof, a huge facility. We have a roof that's gonna cost like $120,000 or whatever it was, $150,000. And we're like, well, sorry, that doesn't qualify, so you don't get, so it's like we penalize them both ways, like there's no way that they can get help from us. I don't think that's our intent.
No.
It seemed like the large capital grant, they may or should fit in that category.
Well,
Sorry, Tina.
Sorry, go ahead,
but,
Tina.
you know.
There was a reason why we didn't do that, we were trying to promote growth and new and all this, so anyway.
True.
Okay, Tina?
Yeah, no, I'll just continue on from that thread, Alan. That is exactly the discussion that took place at the table when we looked at our wind revenue monies, which were, a gift, I guess. And we talked about that whole creative solutioning, new ways of doing business and things like that. In terms of our nonprofits, I'm not sure that I'm on the same page in terms of opening the criteria around major project, but I certainly am wanting to jump on the small capital and opening that up to this isn't going to be worded proper, but opening that up to not disqualify the maintenance or the repairs piece, because I think that's in there as a line, correct, Chad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So again, I know this is a discussion. We haven't, come to we haven't arrived at where we're going to land on it yet, but I'm still of the belief that that creative solutioning, new way of looking at doing things with in a community, with a facility and so on, under major project, I think I'm still landing on that, in that direction. My question to these facilities is, have they not had success applying to the province under the provincial Nova Scotia Communities, Culture and Heritage Rec Facility Development Grant? So, coming to the municipality is only one source, one potential. What else have these community groups done in terms of provincial and federal sourcing?
Yeah.
Well, I would think that that's actually a good point to have in the application, if we change the process in some way.
So I know that conversation, when groups contact the office to ask about, especially the major capital, we always tell them about the other options.
Okay.
So whether or not they pursue it or not, and it's some of the other options are the funding formula is different for many of them. So some of them are up to a third, some of them are 50%, some of them are 100%. So it just depends, as Councillor Connors had mentioned, it's up to the groups to explore what options are fit for them, and then what are they eligible to apply for. And so a lot of times.
But they're not obligated, right?
They're not, no. So the only obligation would be them to come up with the additional, up to a maximum of 100,000 is our limit, and up to 70% of the total project. So they are required to come up that other 30% from other sources, whether it's other government funding or whatnot. We don't have any requirements in our criteria that says that they have to apply to the province, or where that other 30% comes from.
Andre?
I don't know that I really want to change the nature of our large capital, because I like the way that we have that. And it's to create new things in our municipality that normally wouldn't happen.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And then that makes sense to me. It's something that I think is unique to our municipality, that I don't think many other units would have that kind of mass granting power on a regular basis to create new and innovative things in their communities. I think that's really awesome that we have that. And I don't really want to mess that up by getting it all bound up with a bunch of roof repairs and stuff like that. That's not its intent. I think that would corrupt the idea. But if we have, I think we have different compartments, I'm just going by memory, I don't know them as well as Tina, but I think that there's categories up to 25,000 or in that range, is there not?
The small cap.
Yeah, and it just seems like if you have, is it 10,000 or 20?
10,000 per small cap.
10.
Yeah, I just feel like we should have it, maybe increase the limit on that, and then
Small cap.
and then make it so that if you're a group that owns infrastructure, you can apply for repairs under that. Yeah, is it it's a lot of money if you're a District 1 community center and you have to put a new roof, or the 40s community center, or whatever, some other group around that needs some help.
Yeah. I agree. I don't want to change the major capital either, because I think we did that for a reason, promote growth and creativity and all that kind of stuff. And I don't want to take away from that. And there's a limit to how much money we can just keep giving it away at some point in time, but we're fortunate we can make some changes. I am concerned that there are restrictions and not enough money to help community organizations that own facilities. Because in my discussions, in my view, and just seeing what's going on out there in the world, are groups that own physical facilities are struggling more so than they ever have been. Just because there's a whole raft of reasons. Prices have gone up, participation in large public events has gone down. Now that all kind of happened because of COVID, but they're having an awful struggle getting these people back in the doors again, and which is causing financial strain on them. And I also think that it's maybe time to take a look at, membership based has always been excluded. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, most of us have a legion, and most of what goes on in those legions has nothing to do with the membership, it's all community stuff. It's because the facilities are there, and why would you go build another facility? You just use this one. So I'm not sure that excluding them from some form of financial help is really the right approach anymore. So I don't know how to fix it all exactly or what it all means, but I agree we should have some method by which we can provide a little bit more assistance on the maintenance and stuff of these facilities for these groups. You know, where does it come from? What's the criteria? I don't know exactly, but I think we should take a look at it.
Yeah, so again, I agree with your point, actually, because in Chester Basin, your Legion is your community center.
Yeah.
In Chester, the Legion is the community center.
Well, they do all kinds of stuff.
That makes sense to me that you would fund that or at least support it in some fashion. I really recognize that as a Legion, they may have access to other funding sources that maybe Ocean Swells wouldn't.
Yeah.
But that
But they also
that shouldn't
can't
preclude.
apply for provincial rec grants because they're not a recreation.
That's right, so that shouldn't preclude you from seeking funding, because again, the test that I like to apply to many of these projects is are they doing something that aligns with our mandate? You know, and clearly Legions are, for example, and even, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but we know that there's certain faith-based facilities that also you open up their facilities to do work all the time, and you've got one, Derek, in your community that's extremely active. So, you know, I think we have to be real smart about how we support the infrastructure.
Yeah. Without supporting
the operations of it.
Yeah, I'll go with the Legion. I wouldn't want to give them capital money to support the growth of doing Legion work. But when it comes to the community stuff, you know, and so, but yeah, it's a little bit tricky, but especially on.
I got married in the Chester Basin Legion.
Yeah, I know.
Look at that.
Yeah, well, that's
Look at that.
okay, but I mean, really, I mean, it's, you know, it's a community center.
Well, it is.
And, you know, I'm not a Legion member there.
No, you go there Sunday morning and there's 50 cars in the yard, it's because they're all in taking courses on how to shoot guns. And, you know, well, how to hunt and use a gun properly, I should say.
As a grant administrator, I'm really glad you're having this conversation, because that is one issue that has been very challenging. You know, we get the background of, you know, putting public monies towards facilities that are, you know, only for members, but the vast majority of those facilities are community based, and they have events and things that are open to the entire community.
Well, I think,
You don't want to build new facilities to do that, because then they're both going to set.
well, I think we should task Chad with
Let's go and take a look at what we.
with putting something together. That's your
Oh, yeah.
evaluate, so.
Before you do that, Tina wants.
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Glad you were there.
Hey, that doesn't often happen because I'm usually quite loud, right? But I want to go back to the comment around owning their own infrastructure or owning infrastructure. I'm just wondering where our community schools would fall in there. You know, we have CDS, CAMS, New Ross, and Forest Heights. I just want to be making sure, because if we're looking at cleaning up the qualifying criteria, I don't want to assume that, leaving this discussion, that my belief is that they would still be qualifying applicants under small capital, at least if they're doing something at one of these community schools, that they would not qualify. So where does that land?
That's not what I was thinking. I think, I was thinking of people who own their own, community organizations who own their own facilities.
No, see, that's not where I'm.
Not community schools.
Yeah. No. So I'm thinking, I don't even know what CDS and CAMS might be thinking, but you know, they could be thinking something right now in terms of an outdoor. I know we all have outdoor classrooms. I get that, but I'm talking about something in addition to an outdoor classroom, again, with CDS or CAMS. I just don't want them to be out of that discussion. Again, it's only me speaking out loud right now. I don't know what everyone else is thinking, but we've done stuff at Forest Heights with that center atrium, whatever it's called. And I think that was a success. We've supported them financially. Again, I'm going back years, but it doesn't matter. They're still successful projects. So would they qualify or not if they came to the table right now with that project?
Well, I don't think that's where we were going with this discussion, but is that another discussion on how you support community schools?
I don't know, like, to me, if it's owned by the province like that.
Yeah, I'm not fixing the roof on the school and stuff like
Oh,
that.
goodness, I'm not talking about a roof, not talking about a roof. I'm gonna use that example then, so I am gonna push it. So that center, whatever that center area is at Forest Heights, we supported it with $10,000, I think, if I remember, out at a meeting at the school, under our grants. Would that qualify today under our grants? The way we're looking at.
That was actually a council grant at the time.
Yeah.
When that was.
Yeah, which is now operating, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know, that's a different discussion to me.
yeah, it's not really what I had in mind. What brought this to the front for me was, the District 1 Community Center said we have holes through our parking lot and we want to fix them. And it was like, whatever, $5,000 or something, and I said, yeah, I'm sure we could help out some way, and then I was thinking about it, and I talked to Tina a little bit, because she's my resident expert on these matters, and it's like, there's no actual bin to point them to here for help, and it's like, geez, we can't even help the community center fix their parking lot. Like, what happens when, we have something like doors or a washroom or something significant that they have to undertake, and it's like, we're gonna just pull rabbit ears out of our pants, like, there's nothing, we have nothing for you. That's
Well, like, coming up, I mean, with the whole accessibility issue is going to be play into some of these community facilities, like how do we make them meet the new standards, where's money coming from? Anyway, we just want to go away and.
Okay, so in particular, so we're talking about capital projects and not changing our major capital program, but looking at perhaps the small capital and changing up some of the criteria, perhaps the limits of the project.
Yeah.
As well as the member-based organizations.
Member-based organizations and how and what restrictions they.
To me, just as a spitball, it seems like if you have, and it doesn't mean if you, again, to repeat myself, just because you come with the ask doesn't mean we give it, just because you qualify. That's a very low bar. But like, to me, if it's the right project, we should be going up to, like, say 25,000, it would be a huge project. Or some percentage of the project, you know what I mean, like something.
So I can bring that back. I just know with the restrictions that we currently have set, so that both the major capital and the small capital will come out of the 1/3 wind revenue.
Yeah.
And so currently with that $10,000 limit per project, the overall budget that we had assigned was 25,000.
Yeah.
So if we were going to look at perhaps increasing that cap to 25,000, then we would have to look at increase the amount.
And then just have a discussion about what that means moving forward, how we maintain enough to do all this stuff and all that. Okay, we good? We're good. Okay. Correspondence, I don't have any.
Thanks, buddy.
Bylaw policies, I don't have any. Okay. So if that's it for new business, a motion to go in camera.
So, second.